by addressing issues such as child and forced labor, such as unfair contracts, unsafe working conditions, just to name a very few. So one of the most significant reforms is the introduction of the paternity and adoption leave. This has got Botswana quite interested. It is alongside the increase of maternity benefits from 50% to 70% of basic pay while on that leave. Now, if it passes into law for the first time, parents will have the option to choose who takes care of the newly born child. You know, and also who takes this time to bond with the child, ushering in a very inclusive and balanced approach to family, but then also equality in the workplace. So, to discuss this further, I am being joined by Btv-DIKGANG, who's a labor expert, to give us a bit of an insight onto perhaps what opportunities this ushers and any challenges, if there are any, at policy point of view. Let me take this time to welcome you. A very good morning. Thank you for coming through.
Thank you, Ma. I greet you and I greet your listeners at home.
Right. So this is the topic of the winter parliament that is on the table in the House right now. I know that it has gone into a second reading, but I want us to just recap. You know, just by way of introducing the subject that we're going to get into, just what the bill seeks to do, because we have been having other instruments in place that are addressing worker rights and stuff like that, like the Employment Act and others. So let's just start by establishing that.
Yes, thank you so much for the question. I think the bill, as we might all know, measures three critical labor and employment bills, or rather labor and employment acts. Firstly, the Employment Act that we all know about, the Trade Unions and Employers Organizations Act, and the Trade Disputes Act. These acts are repealed and are going to be enjoined into that particular employment and labor relations bill.
Right.
The idea is to modernize and align our standards to international standards, and also enhance worker protection in the workplace, including collective bargaining and occupational health and safety.
Okay, so we're going to hone in on the introduction of paternity leave this morning in this session. But I want to perhaps pick your brain on you know, some of the issues that are going to be improved or introduced. What are perhaps two or three that are key, that stand out for you as being relevant to the issues that are current for Botswana's employment and labor industry?
Yes, I briefly discussed this on Friday, but I think one of the critical things is that this bill introduces a social dialogue structure that hasn't been there, right? The Employment and Labor Relations Council, which council has to be organized with its own rules. It will be facilitating its own processes and procedures, to be independent from government and either tripartite structures. It will be collectively managed by all the tripartite structures, or rather the tripartite parties.
Who are the tripartite partners?
These partners are government, business representatives, and worker representatives, being the federations. Yes. And what is critical about it is that it aligns the practice to Convention 144 of the ILO, which specifically states out that tripartite consultations have to be independent from government, right? So that they have clarity of meetings at regular intervals, not a situation where government decides to or to not convene it, like we have seen in the past in the country.
It's interesting possibilities, because as we mull over it, some of us as ordinary citizens are even thinking perhaps we will get to a point where even your severance packages, it will come to a point where you can also negotiate instead of it just being dished out as it has been. The terms have been just dictated by employer this far now. So
I don't think it has changed with regards to the severance pay thing, but I think what regarding the terminal benefits of an employee, the manner in which we have been handling Section 25 of the Employment Act has been such that the employer had a lot of power over the employees. But I think the current bill, it emphasizes a proper consultation, such that when you part ways, the package has to be commensurate to the value that you added in the workplace.
Okay. All right.
The other introduction that I would have loved to talk about is the fact that there has been newly introduced, the bill tries to introduce a dispute resolution structure.
Right.
Yes.
Through the council.
Yes. Called Mediation and Arbitration Commission, which commission has also to regulate its own processes. It's now going to be independent from the Ministry of Labour and Home Affairs. As you might know, Go Labour.
Yes, Go Labour.
Yes.
Well, these are interesting developments. We'll be looking with interest to see how it fares out at the House. But let's talk about this introduction that has got BOTSWANA talking. This is the introduction of the paternity leave, the adoption leave, and the slight adjustment of the maternity leave, the percentage of basic pay. So paternity leave, if we were to define it, means what? It means because you are going to have, your partner is going to deliver a child, then you take time off work. The one that is not carrying the child.
Yes. Okay. It means exactly that. That now both parties have a responsibility towards raising the child, even though it's pegged at only 5 days and also paid for by the employer. Right. So as a man, in the past we used to not have paternity leave. We used to not. We used to just take leave from our normal leave days to go and nurse, or rather take care of our kids at early stages of birth. But now the law introduces that particular leave. Okay.
Ghana, some of these things we're doing them not only as our obligations to our citizens, but also as international obligations. And I know that this is a practice that we are seeing. Some countries are a bit ahead with it. But what is the value of paternity leave?
Well, the value of paternity leave is to ensure that the father also has a role to play in the growth of the child, especially at very early ages of birth. To strike a work balance kind of approach towards caring for the child, and to also support the partner during that particular time, to ensure that he is also there to help.
You mentioned just some of the terms that it would entail, the fact that yes, it will be paid and that it will be 5 days. Anything else that you want to add, perhaps?
Well, the fact that the father is also duty bound to prove that the child is his. Right? Reasonable proof. And I suppose that reasonable proof would therefore mean to provide a paternity test that will actually prove that the baby is yours.
Yes. So we are seeing other economies already having installed this and quite far ahead with it. What have been some of the advantage? What have we seen any positives in such societies that perhaps could be attributed to the fact that yes, the male parent now is given this opportunity?
Well, I think firstly we should approach the issue at maybe a basic family kind of approach, that if a baby is to be born, that baby is born to two people, right? It's born of two people, and therefore both of them have to be there at early stages, as I said, right? And I think it's quite a number of controversies that have been established, the narratives and all of the conversations that we've, even here in Parliament, we've heard that, it's likely going to be abused, it's going to lead to absenteeism, and all of those other things. Right?
Okay. I think what I'm wondering is at a social development from a social development perspective is that, are we seeing such societies perhaps having higher levels of family the bonding, higher levels or lower levels of delinquency of children that, I don't know if there are any indicators that can speak to it.
I do not have any evidence on that, but I assume that the fact that a baby is born to two people, then the law has to afford both parents, the opportunity to be with the baby from early stages of childbirth to whenever,
I suppose child development experts can speak to that, what that does to the psyche or the development of the child.
Yes.
But as we're looking at our society, debate has been rife already, formal and informal around this. What are some of the issues that are coming out as you're observing?
Well, like I said, I was sitting in Parliament the other time when the bill was introduced, and there was a bit of controversy from both sides of the aisle. Members of the ruling party in support of the proposition, some members of the opposition suggesting that it is tantamount, it's going to be open for abuse by employees and all of that. Some suggesting that there will be a lot of time lost in the workplace, right? Because, and I think one member of parliament, particularly PHUKWI or someone like that, he mentioned that imagine if there were 200 babies born in a day. That means if you release 100 women to go and give birth, you also release 100 men to also go and take care of the early stages of childbirth in that regard. So in his view, he thinks that that is time lost from the workplace. Yes.
Okay. But which does sound like a reality.
Yes, it's a reality that time will be lost in the workplace. But I assume that just as much as the woman is going out on maternity leave, the arrangements in the workplace to make sure that there is continuity and the job that the duties that she has been carrying out are carried over to some other person to continue. I see that there is no lost time.
Yeah, I see an opportunity for balancing to some level of equality between the two parents, equally shared roles in the family, equality in the workplace, that the father is also a parent, just like a woman is a parent. So some, dispensation for the father parent, bring in those dynamics. But then you see, society also has a gender dynamics, and society, I don't know if we perceive our society to accept cultural acceptance. Well, what do you say to that? There could be stigmatization that could happen as well. I want to pick your brain there.
What sort of stigmatization are we thinking about? The fact that a man has to go and take care of early stages of childbirth.
Right.
What could it bring?
Absolutely. I mean, we already have stigmatization of a man caring at whatever stage of the infant, the baby. Caring. There is already stigmatization around issues like that.
Okay, I don't think I look at it from that perspective. What I think is that the culture has therefore to change, that fathers have to be present for their for early stages of childbirth to ensure that they also bond with the child, they also help the partner go through the stages of early childbirth and all of that.
How do we, and this is just your view, I understand, how do we then try to support society towards that change? I don't know, and this is just my assumption, that, the early stages of child care, because it has been typically or stereotypically the responsibility of the woman, we have been seeing less participation from the father parent, which is not necessarily an ideal at all, actually. That when now the father changes diapers, then these type of stereotypes come into play. But then how do we support society to this mindset change?
Yes, the bill is trying to encourage that sort of change, to enhance the role of the father figure in the early stages of childbirth.
Yeah.
And I think I've said this the past week when I was here that there is need, therefore, for public education around the bill to make sure that when it turns into the Act, there is a continuous education of all stakeholders, the businesses, the informal sector, the workers, the federations, and everyone, including government, to also appreciate that these are changes that have to be noted and they have to be practiced for the betterment of our labor relations in the country.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to browse through the terms of this, because as much as yes, the bill comes into place, we have already been seeing the economy generally battling with unfair labor practices. You know, when you mentioned the issue of time out or time lost. Now imagine the business or the private sector space, you know, which is profit driven, which is motivated by profit. Could these dynamics not play or disadvantage the advancement also of men?
Yeah, having had the benefit of sitting in the tripartite that dealt with the bill, these are some of the concerns that were raised by the business sector, that there's actually going to be time lost and opportunity cost for them and their business, right? But ultimately, the bill was accepted by all the parties, and they appreciated it, the manner in which it is. But I don't think we should also be naive not to realize the fact that obviously if there was work done by someone and someone is no longer doing that work, then therefore there has to be arrangement that is made to make sure that there is continuity in the workplace, either through acting appointments, either through temporary contracts, either through whatever, you know, panacea that may be there for business to continue. We cannot sit around and cry that a leave has been introduced and let our businesses collapse on the basis that that particular leave has been introduced.
Diporiso, how do you envisage perhaps enactment could be made more efficient? I mean, we are sitting with whatever three labor laws that we're having. We are also seeing a lot of abuse slipping through the cracks, you know, perhaps through, I don't know what limitations there are in monitoring and in enforcement or enacting what has already been in place. So how do we then ensure that we optimize, you know, the effectiveness of this act? What do you see, perhaps what other support functions would have to be worked on?
Thank you so much for that question. I think the starting point is to mention the issue that I mentioned earlier, dispute resolution within the workplace. There has been a lot of lapses in that regard. The longevity that your matter takes before the tribunals, before the industrial court and all of that. I think the introduction of the Mediation and Arbitration Commission tries to deal with that, tries to shorten also the space, or rather the time within which a matter can be resolved or rather arbitrated before it can go out to the industrial court and all of that.
Because some unscrupulous employers might just, you know, be non-compliant, and, you know, policing and being on the lookout for that to protect the worker is going to be a vital.
Thank you so much also for that, because in the past, the labor officers did not have the power to summon you before them if you had a matter with your employee. So they didn't have that power. The commission gives them the power. The act gives them the power to actually say, come. If you don't come, they can also charge you with contempt, just like the court does. So I think that also tries to improve the manner in which you know, employers will be steadfast in addressing worker issues in the workplace.
Because you don't want to labor. And then, you know, whereas the law, though, was intended to protect such a worker. I want to come to conclusion in what other stakeholders perhaps would need to step up. I know that the trade unions, I know that there's civil society, other stakeholders. What would you say?
No, the tripartite itself.
The tripartite itself, starting with,
It is the duty of the tripartite to ensure that the bill, if turned into an act, it serves the purpose for which it was introduced. Right? Otherwise, it would be time wasted. This bill was started in 2017. We took an order 8 years of time to actualize it. And I think if they were to, if Botswana were to enjoy the benefits of the bill as an act, then the tripartite would have to step up to ensure that there is workshopping of every stakeholder to appreciate the fact that now there has been a change in the, you know.
I like when you mentioned workshopping of every stakeholder, because government, yes, the nation holds government to account. And then we see the other leg being the labor itself. We see it looking efficient. I don't know if this is even a fair assessment. But I don't know about the Employers Association and just how much teeth and how impactful that this leg of the tripartite is. In terms of what? In terms of it's actually having the teeth to actually make a difference. I don't know if it is that well organized to start with. Yes. Well, I wouldn't want to pass a judgment on them, but I think in terms of my interaction with them in the making of the bill, their input has been so invaluable. And I think going forward, they have to, they are a membership-based organization. If you might remember, they have members. They have a duty, therefore, to educate each and every of their members, to host workshops, conferences, to also, you know, address their members on the changes and how they are envisaged to be implemented in that regard. Okay. Yes. I hope that you'll have time next time to come and pack another aspect of this, which is that the exploitation through short-term contracts. Yes, the bill addresses that, and I think we'll have another conversation for another day. Thank you so much for coming through. Thank you so much. We're talking, taking it from the eyes and views of a labor expert, and then we're unpacking now the paternity leave introduction or provision of the act that is actually in Parliament right now under discussion.
Welcome to beautiful Botswana, where the warmth of her people and wildlife is welcoming, where the vibrancy of her land echoes in the unforgettable voices of her people. Come and see Botswana in her splendor, a place to live, work, and invest. Botswana.